Hello, welcome, and welcome back to Encouraging Talks. I am here today with episode 3, and today, as you can see by the title, we are talking about being humble. What is it like to be humble? What does being humble mean to you? For me, it means a lot of different things. Primarily, not taking things for granted, putting others ahead of myself, realizing that things that are given to me can easily be taken away. So, with that, I want to be sure to continue to show up as myself and not um, full of pride, not boastful in a boastful way. There's things that I could do to show up better for myself and for others. The point of thinking about others instead of myself, um, not being judgmental, being understanding, um, thinking about others instead of myself. For instance, someone might have had a bad day, and just because I'm having a bad day doesn't mean that their day could have been worse. I'm thinking that everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, and being humble and knowing that I'm still blessed in the midst of how I might feel or what's going on. Being thankful, being gracious to God, and letting Him know that I appreciate Him, even when things are not 100%. Getting into the habit of giving someone a smile, even when I don't feel like it, or, speaking life into someone else, even when I don't feel life myself. Not comparing myself to others because I'm different. We're all different, and I gotta humble myself in so many different situations because, again, as quickly as I received it or achieved it, is as quickly as it can be taken away. When you think of how someone perceives you as being a humble person, what do you think of? For me, people think that I am passive, like I let things slide, like I don't have a reaction to some things, like I'm so nonchalant. Someone who is humble might seem submissive to someone else, ready to do whatever is needed, ready to help however you can. In some situations, another person might be like, that's their problem or that's their situation. I'm not getting into it. It's not my business type of thing. But, depending on what it is, everyone needs a helping hand. And just humbling myself, like, that could be me. When you're humble, you're selfless and you don't have to state that to others. I'm humble. I'm being humble. You don't have to do that because your actions speak louder than your words. And being around people who are the same as you, we talked about that a couple episodes ago. Surrounding yourself with people who are like minded. So, are those who are around me humble as well? Or are they being boastful? Are they being reactive? Are they being, um, like, are they bragging and things like that? Are you around somebody who's always upset or somebody who's always down? That's not very humbling. We have our emotions and, we're allowed to feel the way that we feel. But that comes along with self discipline, knowing that, my situation might be this, but someone could be going through something worse. So I'm not going to be upset and down and mad about it when I can't fix it. Only God can. So I'm humbling myself and I'm still going to show up in the best attitude in the best way that I can. Being humble means that you're bold, you're courageous in Christ. You put everything else aside, you lay it all out for the Lord, and you have faith in knowing that He's going to make it work out for your good. Not that anything's wrong. It could just be your day to day. Life's, life challenges, life situations. If you're humble, you're aware, we're ready to learn new things in every situations. We are retaining relationships, meaning, um, it could be your personal relationship at home with a spouse. Uh, my husband and I have been together for 13 years this year, and that's the longest that I've ever been in a relationship. And it took some time, I definitely didn't start off being humble. I had to change my way of living. I had to change my way of thinking. And then my life, it started to reflect it. When you go to work, you're more engaged, you're more outgoing at work. You're easy to approach. People might ask for help. If you're a leader at work, or if you're a part of the hiring team, then people are less often to quit. They're more likely to stay because of your humbleness, because of the way that you react, the way that you come off. If you're humble, it's easy to make hard decisions. Even in difficult situations, you feel confident in what needs to be done. And you're confident in making decisions on your own. We don't have to look for validation. Did I make the right decision? Could I have done something different? No, you're confident in knowing that God is directing your path, and that He gave you what you needed in that moment, and that what you said or what you did in that situation was the right thing. Being humble means that you know your self-worth. You don't feel the need to be boastful, to brag, to throw yourself in front of everyone to get attention. Nobody cares what we're doing 100% of the time unless you show how much you care for them. And that's a quote. I'm not sure. It's unknown who said it. But again, it says nobody cares about what you're doing 100% of the time unless you show how much you care for them. When I came up, that's what I would call tit for tat, meaning I'm only going to do this for you, or I'm only going to show up for you this way if you show up for me that way, or because you did this for me a while ago. And it shouldn't be like that. Being humble means you just do things because you know that it needs to be done. You just help because you know that someone needs help. You're not expecting anything in return. You don't do things for attention. Being humble means you listen. Have you ever had a conversation with someone, and maybe you're telling them about a story, and every time you get so far in the story, they have to interrupt you? They have to say, "Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about." They have to talk over you. They have to make it seem like they've been through that situation. I dealt with someone like that in high school. Every time I said something, she would say, "I went through that. I had that happen to me before." And she would always interrupt me in the middle of my conversation, to the point where I know that everything that I said didn't relate to her in her past. I just know that it wasn't true. So, if you're humble, you're listening before you engage. You're not trying to dominate a story. You're not trying to dominate a conversation. If you're humble, you're curious and understanding others, not just how to live with or how to work with people. You're interested in knowing more about them. You're curious about their spirit. You're curious about their interest. You're curious because you again, you want to learn more. And learning more sometimes comes from the next person. I'm not too good to learn from my neighbor if they know something that I don't know. I'm humble. If you're humble, you're speaking your mind and in a good way. You don't fear that you're going to be wrong. You don't have any problems with being wrong because sometimes we are. If you're humble, you simply say thank you, knowing that someone else's time and attention and even knowledge is important. They didn't have to share, they didn't have to take out the time. If you're humble, you have an abundance mentality, meaning that you know that you'll win. And it's not being boastful, it's more being confident. You know that you're gonna win. And whenever you set your mind to, whatever you give your attention to, whatever you try, with the help from the Lord, you'll always win. You always have victory. So you have that abundance mentality. It's a great way to make yourself feel happy, to feel joyful, because you know that what you're doing is going to pay off. If you're humble, you brag about others. Instead of bragging about yourself, you let others know how good of a friend so and so is, or how so and so helped you talk through a situation, or how so and so gave you more knowledge about something that you were not sure about, or maybe they shared their experiences and it gave you a little bit more confidence. Being humble says that I didn't have it all. I don't have it all and I never will. And that, besides God Himself, others have the potential to pour into me and to make me better as well. I'm not too good for constructive criticism, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not too good for someone else's feedback. I'm not too good for someone else's way of doing things because it might work for me. I like change because I'm humble. I know that doing something a different way might bring a different result. And it might be better than I was used to. I'm humbling myself. And last but not least, if you're humble, you don't blame others. You take accountability. I made a mistake, especially if you're working. I made a mistake at the cash register. I'm not going to blame the person who was there before me. And I'm not going to blame the person who came to take over. It was me. I made a mistake. I'm also going to say something to my supervisor. Hey, I made a mistake on the register today. I just wanted you to know, that goes along with integrity. Integrity being doing what has to be done or doing what you're supposed to do, even when nobody's working or giving direction. I said, even when nobody's working, even when nobody is looking or giving you direction, you still do what needs to be done. So I think being humble goes hand in hand with integrity, um, in such a way that we're we're showing up the right way all the time, and not just because someone's looking. So I hope that this video has been encouraging to show up a different way, to see things in a different light. We have to be true to ourselves first. And if I realize that I'm being judgmental, or if I realize that, um, when, let's say, someone at work is trying to help me and I act like I know it all, and that's an attitude that I shouldn't have, and I should realize that there's an issue here. So being true to myself and wanting to make a change, knowing that something is uncomfortable, or Being upset all the time, being sad, and things like that is not something that we should feel. We're not supposed to walk around that way. Um, get into the habit of writing things down, get into the habit of praying and strengthening my prayer walk so that God can help me get to the person, the real version of me. And I pray that you be encouraged to do the same. So as you finish off this video, please leave me a comment. Let me know, what is it like to be humble for you? What is your expectation? Not setting your expectations too high as well is a big one. Because if you expect so much from somebody and they don't do it the way that you're expecting, then you will leave yourself disappointed. And being humble lets me know that everyone is not perfect and everyone is not going to do it like I do it. So I'm not going to set my expectations high for anyone anymore, unless it's God Himself. So it has been a great pleasure being with you again today. I pray that you have a good rest of your day, a happy Friday, and a good weekend. I will see you back on Monday morning for encouraging talks. That's it. That's all. As always, remember, be true to yourself. Because if you can't be true to yourself, you can't be true to nobody else. Bye bye.